Showtime, an awesome opponent here because you go back to that BlizzCon, actually. In fact, you go back the weekend before, where ByuN was looking pretty unstoppable until he hit this young German player.
Exactly.
Who actually beat him, and beat him in very strong, convincing fashion with Colossus, Disruptor, and Templar, but pushing it to the late game, winning the big fights, and then just securing the win quite handily. And I remember this in particular because ByuN showed me something that you just almost never seen, and that's after he lost that, he went to Showtime that afternoon and said, "Hey, do you mind practicing with me? You beat me. I'd like to learn more." Showtime, perhaps because he's just too nice of a guy, which is one of the funny typical things of a StarCraft pro gamer, but he's like, "Sure, I'll help you learn how to beat my style." And then ByuN would go on to become the world champion, winning hundreds of thousands of dollars, and Showtime had a good showing, but perhaps had a little bit of his light stolen at that moment. Because imagine if a foreigner would have done even better and gone on to perhaps even win. That'd be incredible. Not saying that was what was stopped, but ByuN showing what it takes to be that champion, and that's humility and the willing to work out your mistakes.
No doubt about it. It's awesome that Showtime was willing to do that, and of course, great that ByuN's willing to listen. The mark of a true champion, no doubt. And here we go. Newkirk Precinct is going to be the venue for the next encounter. Again, we've mentioned this before. Terran can very much set up a great split map scenario. We've seen some long macro games on this map before. We've seen some excellent TVP on this map before. Hopefully, we're going to see that once again, because we've had some wild games so far. Even ones that haven't gone very long, they've certainly been quite unique. ByuN executing a crazy build, but something he has actually done, if I recall correctly, he actually tried that in the round of 8 of the GSL this season, I believe. I may be mistaken, but it's something he pulls out of his little bag of tricks every once in a while. Certainly not something we're going to be seeing here against his Protoss opponent. To the southeast position, in the red trunks playing Protoss, ladies and gentlemen. It's Showtime, and I am eating my words.
A little bit.
It's not exactly the same, there's only one SCV out at the moment. This is most likely going to be more of a proxy Reaper. Anyway, the current reigning King of the Hill, who's here to make me and everybody else look like a fool, in the blue trunks, the reigning world champion, it's ByuN.
Yeah, it's gonna start with a Reaper, but with the double gas, it's very clearly going to evolve past that. Now, Showtime is scouting, and he's going to see this, and Protoss players, when they scout double gas at this time, they know what they're facing. They know they know-ish what they're facing. The big thing is, can they find it before it starts to develop? So if you can get a probe out there, and, even block the factory or reactor or something like that, you can do a lot of damage.
Absolutely. A Marine coming out rather than that Reaper.
Yeah, that's interesting.
There's that reactor going down, so from this position, I was thinking, like, is that Cyclone? Is that Widowmine? You're probably right with the Cyclone there. Some people might be thinking, why on earth would you proxy a Cyclone? Surely they're quite fast. No, they look like they're fast. They're actually pretty damn slow, considering you would think there'd be a quick unit. But yeah, you may very well be right. We may see reacted proxy Cyclone here. It is effective. Very effective, in fact, especially against early game Protoss units, but here's a very interesting thing, considering the scout. There are 3 gateways up already. No attempt to expand. Showtime already smells that there is something amiss.
Well, to be fair, there was an attempt to expand. He scouted out what's happening, and he canceled it.
Yep.
And this is an interesting response. He's going to make a high ground defense, basically. And with that probe out on the map, by the way, keep that in mind, because it is just kind of running away from an SCV hilariously right now. You can hear the Benny Hill music playing in the back of all our minds, but if this drops a pylon or two, I'm not even thinking the photon overcharge, which, by the way, we should start to now think about as the Mothership Core makes its way over there. Tragically, as this attack is coming over, but he could have warped in units as well, but here goes the pylon. And now all of a sudden, Showtime, if he can hold this high ground, He's going to go on to win that game because that Mothership Core has no answer over there at all.
That would be quite the turn of events, wouldn't it? Look at the firepower available right here, especially with backed up repairs, but there's not quite enough Marines to break this high ground defense. That pylon is up. The Mothership Core is on its way.
I mean, there's going to be a medevac coming out, so he's going to have to do this weird thing where he just flat out wins, but there's just so much production for Showtime. Like, he's got 3 more units coming out. I don't see it. I do not know how ByuN can do it.
It's going to be very, very difficult, isn't it? There is another Cyclone on the way, and 3 Cyclones gives you incredible early game firepower against Protoss, but I don't know if that is going to be enough, especially as 1 Cyclone... Oh, great pickup there from ByuN, but unfortunately it falls at that point.
Nope.
It's going to be driven away. This is not going to work. He can't break this, and at this point, well, the natural is the main is the natural. Cats and dogs living together. It's madness at this point in time, but what's the answer to this Mothership Core? There really isn't one. ByuN's still trying to break it, but now there's a sentry in place, so he can't even really get up the ramp without risking that medevac. Oh my.
He's just going to head back home. Now, one thing that has happened here is Showtime has lost a few probes of his own, not because the mineral line was challenged, but because he brought them forward voluntarily.
Indeed.
To be a part of this defense.
But the amount of damage that's being done here, I mean, the 6 SCVs down already. He's down to almost single digits. I mean, this is economically devastating. The lock-on is going to get rid of it eventually, but the DPS is so terrible, he could have easily taken a couple more. He actually bringing in a couple of Stalkers out of nowhere to focus down that Cyclone. Does lose the Mothership Core, but looks like that other Cyclone will also go down, and ByuN's really got very little left here. He's able to drive this back, but only just, and he taps out. Showtime once again proving that he may very well be the nemesis of ByuN. He outthinks him and outplays him. The king is dead.
Yeah, ByuN also one of those players that will do a bunch of different things. Like, no one would call ByuN cheesy, but they would say that he's capable of cheesing, which is, again, I think, in my opinion, always the strongest combination for a StarCraft player. But here, Showtime is known for his defense. He's one of the most staunch defenders, playstyle-wise and also in execution, and just great here. The pylon, the Mothership Core, having the fortitude to pull away from that ramp, by the way, because there's a lot of players that would have gotten very tunnel vision and been like, okay, you're not coming up this ramp, I'll hold on forever. But against a Terran, that's not good enough. They can expand quite easily. They can drop a couple of mules and their economy can explode. You can't just defend. You have to have, a defense and an attack going, basically. And Showtime was able to do that, so really impressive play.
Very, very good indeed. Not a surprise victory. Knowing the history of these two guys, Showtime has been a thorn in ByuN's side, and it was a rather unusual game, but a great answer, and a great hold, a great defense. ByuN, unfortunately, getting bowed out after just a couple of games. Not a bad little payday, but Showtime proved to be quite the opponent. The question is, I suppose, is he going to be able to hang on to the throne? We're going to find out after the break, folks. Everybody needs a little bit of a breather after that crazy match, I think. Definitely a good time to take a few minutes to hear a few words from our sponsors, and I'm sure you'd also like to hear a few words from me. Maybe you'd like a little sample of my voice pack. Even if you don't, you're getting it anyway. You don't have a choice. It's just how it is. We're taking a break, folks. A few messages from our sponsors. We'll be right back after the break to continue ShoutCraft Kings. We barely got started. We're not even through the second group of 5 groups of incredible players. Showtime ascends to the throne. Can he hold it? We'll find out after the break. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is TotalBiscuit. StarCraft 2 can be pretty rough sometimes. It's skillful and demanding. It stretches even professional players to their absolute limits. Bearing that in mind, the last thing you need is somebody yelling in your ear and reminding you of all your mistakes.
Your SCVs can't mine when they're dead.
That's why I created the TotalBiscuit Announcer Pack for StarCraft 2. Enjoy positive reinforcement.
You're supply blocked. Might as well GG now.
Sincere compliments.
What you lack in minerals, you make up for in charm.
And calm, relaxing notifications.
Your base is under attack. We're all gonna die!
Are you a Zerg player? Let me tell you how beautiful you are.
Metamorphosis is a beautiful thing. Oh God, it's monstrous!
All this and much, much more from the man who brought you the best play-by-play event in history.
Building a supply depot right here. This could be the tactical crucial move of this entire game. It's all about 20%, 25%, and here we go.
The TotalBiscuit Announcer Pack. Available to buy now in-game on the collection page.
Resume the real-time strategy-ing.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to ShoutCraft Kings right here on twitch.tv/TotalBiscuit, brought to you by Blizzard Entertainment and shoutcraft.ting.com. Mobile that makes sense, which is more than I can say for that last game.
Oh, God.
It's quite the thing.
It is.
I mean, I'm glad we got to experience it, honestly. I think it's important to take life as it comes and try to make the best out of every situation.
Yeah, when life gives you lemons, you proxy Cyclone.
Apparently you don't.
Die.
Well, yeah, you then lose. But in doing so, you learn a valuable lesson about life, the universe, and everything, and it makes you a better person, long term.
And that's honestly what we're here to do, as far as I'm concerned, is just make better people. If we can rest our hat on that, we've done all right today.
I agree with that, without question, for some reason. So let's have a look at the next opponent. Showtime, by the way, just put on his first ever win in ShoutCraft Kings. He's been invited several times. Unfortunately, not quite enough. But finally, he puts a win on the board. Can he keep his throne? Well, it's going to be a challenge. Our first PvP of the day, perhaps not our last. Let's find out if Showtime can face the mighty Zest.
Great matchup. As a quick aside, as a fan of both these players, I would say this would also make for the best bikini contest in all of StarCraft 2, perhaps.
I am going to take your word for that, based no doubt on past experience.
Yeah. Well, I've put a lot of people up against each other in my mind. No doubt, TotalBiscuit, no doubt. These two would be the best in a bikini competition, for sure.
Interesting. That I would have thought Nada would have been in the running there, and the fact that you've forgotten him makes me think that you've forgotten your roots.
Nada doesn't have the gams for it. Both Showtime and Zest are quite lengthy, but also svelte beyond comprehension. Their ability would be stunning on stage in skimpy clothes. Not to objectify him. I'm sure they're very intelligent and funny people.
Well, naturally.
Zest, known for his really animated interviews where he has so much to say. He's such a big personality.
I mean, if there is anyone that can put on an incredibly interesting interview, Zest would definitely be one of them, expressing such a range of emotion.
Yeah.
From stoic
John,
all the way to stoic.
I'm trying to get these guys to take it off. There's my dad joke. I'm out. Make sure and tip your waitress. I'll see you guys later.
There's a reason we bring him on the show, folks, and pay him the big bucks. To the northeast position is the challenger. I'm certainly feeling challenged right now. I'm not sure it's got anything to do with this guy, though. In the red trunks playing Protoss, it's Zest.
Oh.
You just gotta put a bit of bite on that one, right?
Yes.
Yes, Zest.
They're both doing the same thing.
They are. Showtime. Ladies and gentlemen, to the southwest position, the reigning king of the hill, the slayer of ByuN and the world champion, the one and only Showtime, and identical builds from both players.
Yes, like down to the T. When you wall off like this, the assumption is that you're fast expanding behind it. Both players are not doing that at all. In fact, they're building the cybernetics core. Of course they have to, because it's double pylon right there, so it's within vision. But there's a second probe out for Zest. So the first probe is a cell. It says, hey, look, I'm doing exactly the same thing as you. We're probably expanding behind this or doing some normal tech. But the second probe is very unpredictable. It's extremely rare to have two probes out on the map unless you're doing something exactly like this. And
iNcontroL, does this pylon die?
Oh, yeah.
Mothership core on the way here for Showtime.
Oh, it's dead, man. It's a dead pylon.
It looks like it, doesn't it? There's the proxy Stargate here from Zest. That pylon now falling down to 50 HP.
It doesn't die.
It doesn't die. It does not. Very, very
mercy.
close, but it does not. This one does, though, surely. Zest's pylon's gonna die, right? That Stalker's nowhere near completion. Showtime!
Well, he canceled the Zealot. He was building a Zealot and he canceled it. Are we getting... I mean, it's not quite the hero-level catastrophe of forgetting Warp Gate, but building a Zealot, then canceling it to build a Stalker after losing that pylon seems pretty bad. A good scout here from Zest.
Showtime getting a full scout of Zest's base. That probe will fall and be forever honored in the history of Aya for its amazing play.
Is it Probius?
I was about to suggest this may very well be viral marketing for the latest Heroes of the Storm character. I'm not suggesting that Showtime is a shill, but he might be. We could rename him Shilltime if we needed to.
Oh, wow. You done it again. But the Mothership Core is across the map, question mark? Yep. So there's a Stalker here to stem the losses, but one Stalker does not do much in the way of stopping this from doing a lot of damage.
It does not. The second Stalker is on the way here, and it's going to get 5, and then leaving at the last possible moment. I think we maybe got 6. We saw a slight bit of hesitation there with the control. Not too much, but like I said, that second Oracle is going to cause a problem, no doubt about it. This Proxy Stargate is going to be something of a pain, and naturally, Showtime can't really leave his base to deal with it right now.
No, it's interesting because there's a couple different philosophies. If you can catch the Oracle outside the base, obviously that's the best scenario. But at the same time, if you're out looking for it outside your base and the Oracle shows up to your mineral line, you've never felt more like a horse's ass than at that moment.
No doubt.
And it is double Oracle, one of which actually came home, by the way, which I find very interesting. I like how the other one's hiding lower left, because there's only so many places Phoenix can be. And if they are to go out to the middle of the map and scout or something like that, an Oracle showing up can do game-ending damage. Of course, as the game goes on, that becomes less and less true. And now a Dark Shrine follow-up from Zest, by the way, because he is able to get a decent scout. But I want to see... He did see the Robo getting made, TotalBiscuit, so...
He did.
Zest doing Zest things, I guess.
It is already somewhat unusual, no doubt about it. Pocket Oracle to that southwest position, just waiting for an opportunity.
There go the Phoenix, that's what I was saying. They catch a probe, but that in doing so reveal that the Phoenix are all mid-map, so here come the Oracles.
He's going to hit 2 targets at the same time by the looks of it. We have some exposure in both. The Oracle going to be driven away. Couple of kills here. A bit of a slow reaction here from Showtime, but shutting that Oracle down with a double overcharge. Obviously, that Oracle was very fragile anyway. It was probably going to die.
Well, miscontrol on the left side. It was just one Stalker at the time and 2 Stalkers in the area shooting at that Oracle, which, again, should have equated to a good 5 or 6 probes being dead, but he unfortunately was attacking the Stalker, and then he shot one probe and then kind of shot another. Again, he sees the Robo, though, so Zest is just doing this thing where he's like, well, I'm going to go Dark Templar. Maybe he tries to hack down the back wall. That would be interesting, but more likely... No, yeah, he knows he's still walled in, so that would be the plan.
Oh, and Showtime's got a Void Ray out now, and he's going to shut this down quite nicely. Good little
I guess
play.
the Dark Templar were like just... Oh, he actually canceled it. Never mind. I'll stop talking about it, but...
Yeah, I was thinking he might. I mean, with the Phoenixes out and with the current situation, he'd have to run it all the way across the map. There's no way he's getting a War Prism out and over there without being seen. So this game is starting to normalize a little bit, I guess. Zest now taking a third. The Oracle just backing off for the time being. 7 Stalkers on the map for Zest, but a push on the way. A second Stargate being added here for Showtime. Interesting.
I was just going to say, the second you say it normalizes, that's, you just like...
Yeah, it isn't at
goes
all.
Down and you're like, oh god.
The question is, do we see the addition of more Phoenix here, or do we even see more Void Rays? I mean, there's 2 Void Rays out already.
Yep. No, it's going to be Void Ray Immortal, I think. And Showtime's going to have good scouting this entire time. In fact, the Stalkers are coming across the map to try and delay a third. That's all they'll do. It is only 3 Phoenix, so it's not like we're going to see 35 probes die here, but it's less than convenient, I guess.
6 in a mirror ain't too shabby, you have to say. And Zest coming forward, but with those 2 Immortals and 2 Void Rays, that ain't gonna help, I don't think. And Zest, now having dropped the Revelation, should be keenly aware of what's going on here. He's like, well, maybe I can get a pylon out of this, but I wouldn't get too close to that army. That is a Stalker-eating army if ever I've seen one.
Yeah. And that's exactly what it's geared for. You will get this pylon, which isn't the biggest of deals because there's another pylon behind that. But with the Stalkers, Zest at this point in time is just looking to buy time. I do like the Stasis Ward.
That's lovely. Yeah.
Cool.
A nice little idea.
Seen.
Indeed. How did that get spotted? There are... yeah, Showtime actually has 2 observers, yeah, so... he did manage to grab that. That would have been lovely. If he'd actually caught that army, then yes, Zest could have then done some pretty significant damage. But unfortunately not. You know, nice gambit. You know, it didn't really cost him much, so he gets out of there. The third's taken. Bear in mind, of course, that Zest's already fully established on his third base, so this took a while for Showtime, although that is still a scary army composition. We're going to 5 Void Rays here with a 4th Immortal on the way, too.
Yeah, and if you look at the developing response, by the way, from Zest, it's kind of a weird choice. Charge, Templar Archives. So presumably he wants to go like Charge Light Archon, and then kind of the next logical leap is that he's going to take that into a timing attack so that the Stargates never really switch to like Carrier or something like that, which is really scary. But if Showtime just kind of keeps making Immortals and Void Rays and eventually adds some Gateways or something, that army does not die to Charge Light Archon. And if Zest is actually going to leverage his economy in that way and not be thinking about a 4th, not be thinking about developing his tech, it could get pretty ugly for him. That War Prism is going to come out. He's not adding more Gateways just yet, but there they are. They're going to be at the natural.
All right, I was hoping to see this +1 added. With this many Void Rays, I'm thinking, oh, maybe +1 is good value here, which it would appear to be. But the Robo Bay being added in as well, Showtime really demonstrating some technological versatility here. Disruptor, of course, a very popular choice in this matchup.
Really fun. And in this composition in particular, it makes a lot of sense, because, again, one of the ways you would lose with a Stargate Golden Armada type build would be them hitting an attack before you get to critical mass of carriers. Well, a couple of disruptors absolutely transform any army, but in this one in particular. Now, as I say, there's a War Prism with 4 Zealots kind of lurking around the lower part of the map, but there is cannons in the middle lines for Showtime.
Spotted there by Showtime.
Oh, jeez.
He's already on top of it. The Prism is probably not getting away, but he can save the Zealots if he just drops them down, which is exactly what he's going to do. He realized, nah, there's no way I'm going to save that. But great awareness here from Showtime, utilizing those 2 Phoenix that he has remaining, just being very active on the map, even lifting up a Zealot on its way out. That's value right there.
He's playing really, really well. Stuffing that out and not allowing for any damage there is a gigantic thing. We have I think this is the first Disruptor coming out. It is the first Disruptor. It's an important one because Zest has pivoted from doing kind of a timing attack into I'm just going to expand. He's now adding more Archons, and as that Archon count rises, you start to see the scale tip in favor of Zest. The determinant factor here is going to be Disruptors. So we have a second Disruptor's coming out. But as I say that, with just the 1 Robo and no other real production just yet, I'm beginning to get a little bit concerned for Showtime. He's sneaking a 4th base in, and I say sneaking because he has... I don't know that he'd be able to defend it. But if he's able to just get that 4th base and add some production behind this, there's that Fleet Beacon. Damn it, Nathaniel.
Well, we are getting Golden Armada from Showtime, which is to be expected. I mean, once we saw the shield upgrade with that mixed composition, I was like, all right, okay, I see what you're doing here. You want maximum value across all of your units, and especially with an Immortal heavy army, that shield upgrade is exceptional. But yeah, 4th bases for both. 1 gold here for Zest, so we're seeing a PvP certainly advance past its usual stage.
And you can see Zest is just going heavy on the Archons. Archons are great at killing Interceptors, which, of course, again, a little bit further down the road from us, but also very good against Void Rays. So getting this number of Archons with decent attack upgrades, by the way, as well for Zest. Going for shield instead of +3 attack, though, that's kind of interesting. But and he's going into Phoenix. No, that's really weird. Interesting.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what Phoenix would actually do here. I mean, sure, you could lift the Immortals, but the amount of firepower that Showtime has in the air, those Phoenixes are going to live about 5 seconds at most. Mothership on the way here for Showtime.
The Phoenix have thrown me for a loop. The army does get spotted here mid-map, so Zest's composition and army gets seen. Oh, okay, they're to lift Disruptors, I guess. That's my best guess is what they're supposed to do. The thing is, the Void Ray firepower, I feel like...
It's so high. Yeah. I don't know if you'd even get the lift off, really. if I recall correctly, lifting a disruptor as the orb is out cancels the orb immediately, right? Yeah.
Yep.
So I mean, there is value to it, but you're not going to be able to stick around with those amount of Void Rays. As it stands, however, Zest is getting aggressive. He's got a drop in play, but what a quick shutdown by Showtime of that Warp Prism, but nothing really on the ground to deal with this Zealot harass that didn't kill too many probes, but is obviously working heavily and is something of a distraction while an attack hits that 4th base. You were asking whether or not Showtime could defend it. Well, at the moment, the answer to that is no.
He just doesn't.
Yeah.
I actually like that call. He didn't even flinch, didn't think about it. He's going to move out now with
Mothership's
the
up.
Mothership.
Zest only
And
has
try
one
to
observer.
punish.
This could be critical. It's a bit of a beaten up Mothership, no doubt, but he's going to go for it anyway, and the Phoenix trying to focus it down, and here is the fight, the Void Rays on full power. Will they be able to chew through this army? The Mothership falls. There's just so much going on. I can't even see what's going on under this. And now the Void Rays finally forced back. Showtime's aircraft blasted out of the sky. And I think Archons may be the deciding factor in that engagement, although both came off with a lot of bruises.
Yes. No, the Archons were the determinant factor down there. Void Ray is just not good against them. The Mothership Core, like you kind of pointed out, was beat up, so it didn't... not Mothership Core, excuse me, the Mothership. So it didn't stick around quite as long, but the composition develops interestingly from here. 3 carriers are about to pop, still more disruptors. The Phoenix count for Zest, by the way, he's still going to keep making them. It's a really, really weird choice. I can't harp on this enough. Again, I think it's to pick up the disruptors. It adds some level of cushion in the anti-air fight, but...
I mean, it's
air
anion
dominance
pulse
is
crystals.
so heavily in Showtime's favor that it's just like, it's such a weird thing to try and do.
Yeah, I mean, even in a Phoenix versus Phoenix fight, you're looking at one with range upgrade versus one without. That only goes one way, unless Showtime literally just lets them sit there, which he's never going to do. The 4th base of Showtime, by the way, did survive, but for the last couple of minutes hasn't been mining anything, so... that's something he's going to have to go back to, but Zest, of course, wants to kill it. And look at the army supply. I mean, Zest has somehow swelled that army. Bear in mind, a couple of minutes ago, he's on 50 army supplies, on 123 now. So his production and bank was massive. Showtime is trying to transition through to carriers. He's going to have to lose his 4th base to do that. We've got, again, more Phoenix harassment in the back, which is proving to be useful. But if Zest goes now, I don't know if Showtime can hold this.
That's what I'm saying. He's going to have a couple of disruptor shots.
Only 3 carriers.
Charges.
Not even full on interceptors yet. There go the disruptor shots in the middle, but they're hot pickups. It's exactly what you were saying. He got the pickups. There's a lot of Archons, which means those interceptors ain't going to live very long, and I don't know. Showtime has himself a nice little choke point to fight in. And Zest is kind of backing off. He's not sure, but look at the size of that warp in now. He can just get yet more Archons and hammer it home. Showtime trying to buy time.
Yeah, there's going to be a tipping point, though. And the disruptors... don't forget about the disruptors. Like a double disruptor shot into a cluster of Archons actually evaporates them for the most part. And then all of a sudden, their ability to kill interceptors, that's nice at 3 carriers. At 6 carriers, at 7, 8, you kind of get the point I'm trying to get at here. It gets really dicey, so...
it does.
God, this is what Zest does. He's adding more Phoenix. Like, I'd love to see a Fleet Beacon and then Tempest or something, but I don't get me wrong. I still think Zest has this in the bag. He's up 40 supplies, free to expand. His army comp is pretty damn good still. Like, interceptors will die, but... It's worrying if he maxes out, he can't bust in here, and if carriers start to get into the, like, 9 and 10 range.
Yeah, you're totally right. Especially at a choke point like that, it's difficult. If all the Archons don't get right under the Interceptor Cloud, that AoE is not going to be so effective. The Mothership is on the way again. There is an Observer out for Zest, only one, but... there's no observer at all for Showtime, so attempting to pick that off is a problem. And then Zest actually gets on top of Showtime's Phoenix somehow, picks them all off, so that harassment is now gone. 5th base up for Zest, versus only 3 here for Showtime. So Showtime's in a position where this is kind of his army right now, and if he loses it, there's probably no coming back from there. Mothership just completed. Alright, here we go. Zest is going in. The Mothership is up. The carriers are up as well, however. With +2, that's a lot of damage, and those disruptors, as you said, can't ignore those. Ooh, nice.
Start landing
Pretty
shots
nice shot.
now. There's
yeah.
only a single observer here. That was actually like one of the clutchest motherships you've ever seen. It pulls in, makes it so the Phoenix cannot pick up the disruptors, and Zest is rethinking this attack. Zest maxed out again, by the way. So if you look up at that production tab, that's not changing. Other than that Oracle, a probe, that's it. He's maxed. And this is his army. So he's going to start to want to do things like add more gateways or stargates or something as a follow-up. Because again, if this fight goes in the favor of Showtime, he can snowball from here. It is possible.
There's the disruptor shots going off once again, right in the center. What a shot! And more disruptors in the middle. The Archons just got devastated. The mothership just pulling back at the moment. Are there enough interceptors to crack this much area of effect? There may very well be. He has to hold this position. He's basically broke at this point. This is his army. If it's not enough, then that will be it. The interceptors are gone, though. There's just too much area of effect, even with the disruptor shots. And Showtime, it looks like, is going to lose this game. A crazy PvP from both sides, but Zest on 5 bases and a broke Showtime. GG. The king is dead.
He wins the fight, loses the game.
Indeed he does. I mean, and isn't that so often the case with that Golden Armada build? You know, you're investing so much in the carriers. Yeah, it can be a game winner, but if you lose them, you're never going to be able to get them back. And just the untold story, I think, being 5 bases versus 3. Never being able to reestablish that 4th, having lost it. He's mined out his main. He's mined out his natural. He's down to almost nothing on his 3rd. That was it. That's what he had. And if he wasn't able to hold it then, he wouldn't have been able to do it at all. Even with great disruptor shots, he wipes out half the Archon count. But you got to bear in mind that fight, there were 13 Archons.
Yeah.
Just
and
just
their job
ridiculous.
Their job was not to kill carriers, it was to kill interceptors. And like you said, you were pointing out during the fight, make it so that he just breaks his back. You can see here, I'm watching the delay on the stream, that 3rd base has like 4 mineral piles, all of which are looking pretty skimpy. So it's not even, at the end of that fight, by the way, it was 91 supply versus 87, and Showtime, hilariously, like I said, Bunny Ears won the fight, but he had no money to do anything after that. The probes were trying to long distance mine from the 4th. They died in transit, I think. And that was going to be it. The Golden Armada is a devastatingly powerful army, but it requires money to run ongoing. It's not self-sufficient. So very well played by Zest. I know what the Phoenix were about. The Phoenix were to pick up disruptors because that is a scary thing for him to deal with in that army. I just thought when the guy's floating 3,000 minerals and has 5 bases, it's time to start thinking about other things. But he's like, nope, just gonna make Archons forever.
Well, with the amount of upgrades he had, I mean, you can hardly blame him. The +3 attack, the shield upgrades. I think he was even working on either level 2 or level 3 shields towards the end of that fight. It was a strong army, no doubt. And I think once you're committed to Golden Armada, there's really no transition out of that, is there?
No, there doesn't seem to be a need for one.
Well, Zest is now king of the hill. Zest, of course, an incredibly strong Protoss versus Protoss player, an incredibly strong anything versus anything player, really, but he's had a rough few months, no doubt, but, I mean, his PvP is almost 80% in his current form over 32 competitive matches. That is ridiculous. So, even if he's maybe not performing quite as well as he was, he should not be underestimated. Currently ranked number 7 in South Korea, number 10 in the world at this point, according to Aligalak. But his next opponent, well, this is going to be quite the challenge. I'm very much looking forward to this matchup right here. Perhaps one might say something of a little bit of a practice session for a certain upcoming match that many of you might be aware of. This is going to be quite tasty, ladies and gentlemen. Zest takes his throne, but it may very well be short-lived. His next opponent is currently in the grand finals of the GSL. He is none other than Sue.
Pretty classic match. Both these players been near or on top of their respective races for a while now. Su is obviously far and away from being called an up-and-comer or, you know, flash in the
Absolutely
pan.
not. Something of a member of the club of those afflicted by the Kong curse, coming in second place so very often.
Oh, jeez.
No doubt about it.
If
Maybe
he
one
loses,
of the
would this be
worst
his
in that
fifth?
respect.
Yeah, I think it would be
could
his
be.
fifth if he loses.
It very well could be. I'm
But I
looking
don't
forward
feel
to this
that
match,
bad.
though.
I would lose 5. You know, if someone was like, Jeff, would you like to be a 5-time second place GSL player? I'd be like, oh no, yes, I would do it. Absolutely.
Well, I'm looking forward to this one. This is going to be great. Zest versus Su. The countdown has now begun. Cactus Valley, the arena for our next encounter. And here's an interesting stat for you. Su is actually considered, according to Aligalac, one of the victims of Zest, in fact. Because in competitive games, Zest actually has 8 wins over Su. His ratio is very, very good against Su over the course of his career. Not that that necessarily means all that much. These
Right.
guys have both been playing for a very, very long time indeed, so they faced off at numerous times in numerous expansions and numerous different metas, so it's hard to say who has the upper hand here.
It can get in your head a little bit, though, to your point.
Oh, it totally can, yeah.
Yeah. One thing, before you introduce these players, I'd like to request that we go to that ting line pretty soon, because I've got a couple of doozy of messages for you.
Absolutely. You can do that right now before we introduce Cactus Valley, a fairly
Now?
large map. Yeah, by all means. Let's hear
All right.
a little bit from the ting line, but before that, a quick introduction, I suppose. Let's just do that while you bring up
Sure.
something. To the southeast position, ladies and gentlemen, is the reigning king of the hill in the style and pink trunks, playing Protoss, and of course, a rival with a strong win advantage over his current opponent. It is Zest. And his opponent, the current GSL finalist to the northwest position in the red trunks, playing Zerg, it's Su.
Alright, so before we get into the meat and potatoes of the game, guys, just a reminder, there's a number you can call to be a part, to leave a message. What would you do if there was a Zergling in your front room? 5 winners will be chosen by TotalBiscuit to get that voice pack, which is awesome. It's also available, by the way, right now on the collections page if you don't win but want to buy it. Support a great man, get a good voice pack, give some love to StarCraft. I can't see any reason why you wouldn't. This first message is from April. This person's from Washington, where I'm from, which is awesome. The message reads, "This is Mile Lean for Field 3."
I
So-
would imagine that is true, perhaps.
I think that one came through loud and clear.
I'm not
Popcorn
an
here.
expert on the subject, but sure.
Yeah. This is Ryan from Florida. Bye. I don't know how long that Lincoln got into my living room with all the can and I have set up. Yeah.
I mean, he seems like a bit of a Zelda fan from what I can tell there. Seems to have a little bit of Zelda on the brain, can't blame him. Seems to be quite the rage over the last few weeks.
Yeah, I think you're right. This is one of my personal favorites. Hello, guys. Shotgun Fetish here. I think the most effective weapon that we have available to deal with the Zergling in our living room right now
Is it a shotgun, by any chance?
would be to just love a couple of TotalBiscuit's pawns at it. Even without upgrades, they ought to be able to one-shot a Zergling, right? My email address... I'm not going to obviously say that, but a couple of TotalBiscuit pawns at it.
Well, I do have a network of those that owe me favors and are willing to die for me at a moment's notice, so I would imagine that is very much what he's referring to. A little bit of lag at the moment, by the looks of it.
Ooh.
Seems to have cleared up.
Okay. The last message is literally just the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air song, so you can just do it.
I'm just gonna pause, try and find out who is lagging. Let's ask them to just fix it quick. We obviously don't want to ruin this absolutely fantastic matchup here.
Fruit Bunker, what a guy.
Well, he believes he may very well be the one who's lagging.
Game of Secret Hitler, only it's lag, which is basically Hitler.
Indeed. There we go.
It was
He
Fruit
is-
Bunker.
It seems to be, yeah, it seems to have cleared up. So, thank you, Fruit Bunker. I'm actually not sure which team they're from. We have, of course, several foreign language teams that are currently covering the event, and we're very thankful to all of them. But unfortunately, we got a little bit of lag there. Now cleared up, and we're back into the game. If you wish to call the Ting line and put yourself at the mercy of our auto-transcript, which appears to be having some interesting ideas of its own at the moment, then feel free to call and, of course, answer the question in the best and most humorous way you can. There's a Zergling in your living room. How exactly would you get rid of it? Top
If I
5
get a
answers
vote-
win a voice pack.
My personal favorite so far is, hey guys, shotgun fetish here.
Just anything starting with that. It reminds me a little bit of the old Call Artosis thing that used to happen during GSL,
Yes.
during Wings of Liberty. Only perhaps unintentionally funny. We'll
This is
see.
a little bit more family friendly too, I suppose. So
Indeed.
far, no Poop Feast 420 is called in, but
So, here's a couple of recent stats for you, by the way, as Zest heads across the map with an aggressive punch involving those glaives, and honestly, Sue is not really ready for this, so this could be quite deadly. Sue recently lost a Series 2-0 in SSL just last week against Zest, so Sue looking to avenge that, no doubt.
he's got 4 queens. Bailey's about to pop, but they're going to have to go off creep if they want to catch these adepts.
Well, Zest kind of balled into a corner here, though. I think Zest making a critical mistake, and great bailing detonation. Sue defending that attack incredibly well. Just
Yeah.
kind of playing close to the razor's edge, let's just say, but such an effective defense, and so little lost there by our Zerg player. Man, well, if he's going to play that well, then perhaps he has his GSL win in the bag for once, but I would never, of course, count on his opponent's stats. No, no, no. Who, oh, yeah, also happens to be in this tournament, by the way, so
Ooh.
just
That's by the...
be aware of that.
Be ever present to that. That's is like his own form of a perennial second place finisher too, by the way. Only not really the second places. There's definitely been a couple of them. Not nearly as prolific as, you know, I think it literally is 4 second place GSL finishes for Sue. But he is that guy that's everyone's like, yeah, he's the best Protoss. And he doesn't have the big, not to his name anyways, the big wins. So it's kind of like, it's what a final that is, where it's Sue who's like, can you finally get that gorilla off your back? And then it's Stats where it's like, hey, everyone's calling you one of the best, can you finally prove it?
I like the fact it's a gorilla on his back, considering how many times he's lost. I guess it would have grown to that size at this point. That Kong curse will end up being a King Kong curse if he's not careful, if he continues to lose. But it's going to be a hell of a GSL final. I'd highly recommend you all watch it. Hell, once you're done with this, go watch RagnaroK versus Stats, because what a series. Oh, in contention for PVT of the year right now. So very, very good. But we should perhaps focus on what is directly in front of us, because this is a championship caliber match already.
I guess. You can get around to it.
Yeah, just a couple of half-decent players, right?
A little bit of a different approach here from Sue. There is that Spire. Everything else is kind of flourish. We don't see a significant number of Ravagers or Roaches. Actually, I think there is not even a... Okay, there is a Roach Warren now. In fact, he's even getting speed. I wonder if the Spire... So there's a couple things that could be about this. Corruptors recently got a bit of a buff as well. They're much faster. Corruptors would be a little bit weird here because we're not seeing any air at all. They can pick off buildings, but that's a little bit strange. I feel like it's more... This is going to be like Ling Baneling Ravager. Get the Protoss really adjusted to that, doing things like building disruptors, a lot of stalkers, and that kind of stuff, and then show up with 30 mutas. I wonder, or it could be that thing where they build like 5 mutas just to hunt warp prisms, because this is a giant map and they are split positions. That would be a smart play there too. There it is, 5 mutas.
I like it. Very much like it. Sue always active on the map, always well aware, doesn't want to be caught off guard. Both of these guys, by the way, showing a lot of respect to each other at the moment and allowing themselves to get into great economic positions. Sue passing 80 drones. That's the first time in this entire tournament we've seen anything close to that. But here's an attack. Not his full army, but enough to certainly keep Zest honest.
Double Colossus off those robos, by the way. Not Disruptors, Colossus. And I'm going to check to confirm this. Not scouted. The robotics bay, the second robo, both of those would be a huge tell. But while that's happening, I mean, what would be the worst thing to happen if you're going double Colossus? Well, that'd be to be facing a Zerg that's going mutaless. Still scouting his Zest. Does he actually end up spotting the mutas? He sees the Spire right now. It's not upgrading, so that in and of itself is a bit weird. If he looks at it, it's not quivering in particular. But there's mutas in his main, so he knows. But not a decent chunk of mutas, so...
No. Irritating.
It's weird.
Something he's got to kind of deal with. Trying to pick off that pylon, Zest moving, and Stalkers to deal with it. There was already a cannon in place, so there wasn't a huge amount of damage, but now he knows.
If I had the power TotalBiscuit, I would pause this right now to rant. 26 Zerglings when you're maxed, when you're almost maxed? Are you kidding me, Hiko? This is so weird. Like, he's gonna make a bunch of Banelings, but that in of itself is also a weird choice, because the Colossus are very good against those Banelings. Any kind of Sentries is really good against this. His Ravager count is not significant. But he just took the most supply inefficient unit and maxed out on it. I really don't like that choice. It gets scouted. I mean, again, he's going to make him into like a bajillion Banelings. We haven't seen this many Banelings since 1999, by the way. And there weren't Banelings. But still, all of a sudden, I'm like really comfortable with Zest's position.
Did the Baneling HP upgrade get nerfed? If I recall correctly. No, so they're 35 HP Banelings.
Oh
with how many Banes? I mean, it's a dicey one. There's currently only 3 Colossi.
I hate everything about this. He's gonna max out on Banelings, and it's like, okay, but what if they force field and lose them to anything?
Yeah, what if it dies? I mean, he has 4 Ravagers. He can bust the force fields, but it's a precision move. You've got to be controlling incredibly well, and Zest, of course, is going to be aware of the possibility of having those force fields broke, so he's not going to spam them all at once. It's,
you know what it is?
This is weird.
You know what it is?
What is it?
He's 100% playing a GSL final PBZ, and he's not going to show his real shit. I guarantee you.
I think you might very well be right, because there's 85 Banelings on the map right now, and it really does very much seem like he is hiding any sort of real build, maybe even trying to throw off stats in his research at this point.
Yeah.
This should, by all rights, not work, but it's Sue, and maybe... that's a lot of Banelings!
It's not gonna work unless Zest just falls asleep right here.
Oh my god! So many dead Banes! That was an almost point-for-point reenactment of...
He's making more lings.
Yeah, and he's going Hive. I'm not convinced that this is a serious build here from Sue, who, by the way, did agree to play this over a week ago.
Can I ask that we don't have people in GSL finals play anymore?
We might want to bear that in mind for future reference. Sue's building more Banelings. I mean, he does have a lot of bases. You got to give him credit for that. It's a shame he's not dropping those Banelings in every mineral line, because that might actually work.
He could still win. I'm not even like, this is stupid, don't get me wrong, but on this map, very wide open.
It's going Brood Lords.
Yeah, there's a semblance of what could happen here. It's just stupid, though.
If he actually wins with a stupid build, you've got to give him credit, though. Like, you're hiding your build, you do something incredibly dumb. He's going for the sandwich, but he's putting on the first slice of bread a little early. Oh, wait, some of the Banelings are getting in! He crushed the whole army! What in the actual fuck just happened? What the hell was that? Sue doesn't have much of an army left, but neither does the Protoss, and obviously, and economically, Sue has so much money. 20 probes died in the process, by the way.
I'm just gonna look at the chat here. We're about 30.
Oh my god, he did it!
God, it's about to happen on stream. I wanna. This is.
He actually did it.
That was Zest.
Zest just got killed by Mass Baneling when he went Colossus Sentry.
Here we go. It's on stream. I'm sorry. I'm going to be a shitty commentator for a second because I just want to see this. This is ridiculous.
I don't blame him the slightest. Yeah, that was the defense. That's where it went horribly wrong. That was a reenactment. It was that reenactment of that StarCraft commercial from ages ago. Remember the April Fool's commercial where they said they were going to have Connect with StarCraft with the whole motion control?
Delay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We don't mess around here on Kings. We don't.
Yeah,
we don't want
cannot
any.
cheat in this
No
tournament.
ghosting. No cheating.
Okay, well then let's talk and stuff. But when that comes up, I gotta watch that because that. Look, and there's gonna be. I can't wait. There's gonna be comments like, no, that's a silliest bill. What would you do to the fighter? Like, no.
I no.
You're not gonna see that.
I don't
in the
think
GSL
so.
Finals.
I don't know. After that, you might.
Oh well. And then wouldn't that be something? Like he mind fucks himself. He's like, this is stupid, and then it works really well, and he's like, or was it?
That is incredible. I'm just watching the chat as well, and someone has a good point. It's like he needs more banelings. Like, yeah.
Okay, here's the one.
Yeah, I almost thought that this
split was
sandwich.
good, by the way.
It was. I almost thought the sandwich was badly timed. Looked like he was going a little bit early at the front, but you know what? It did the trick. Quite a few
chased him
banelings
back.
got through.
And then
And
the sentries died right there.
yeah, they did. They died in the first hit. And in they come. The whole Protoss army obliterated in one fell swoop.
There's the chat. That's what I was expecting.
I am amazed.
It's a weird, like, I don't know. I'm not gonna dig myself out of this hole. It would take you and I explaining things for like 30 minutes to get it to a place where it makes sense. But like, if there's any kind of actual sentries to like, by the way, there was no way to stop force fields from coming in the flank. So if there's 2 sentries to force field off that whole backside, then yes, some banelings connect on the front and they kill a bunch of sentries, which would suck. But like 15,000 gas would die in banelings. So I'm not gonna have too much patience for the people that are inevitably gonna be posting on Team Liquid and stuff, and they're like, Jeff's out of touch.
Yeah, that's
700
the
banelings were
meta.
made. You know, it's a real strategy. They've been working on this in the opiate dens of Korea. It's a real thing. Like, no, it's not.
Jeff, you know what's gonna have to happen now, right?
Oh God, I can see it. Oh God.
You know what's gonna have to happen.
Oh boy.
Are you kidding me? You think I would miss out on the opportunity to pull this out of my hat?
Oh jeez.
If you haven't already guessed it, we have Sue as king. I want a GSL final. You're getting stats. Here we go. Let's do it. Let's do it. This is a
Just a
preview of the
taster.
GSL finals right here.
This is gonna be the weirdest game of chicken you've ever seen in your damn life. It's gonna be like a... Because both of them are thinking, do they think this is real? Am I doing it well enough that they think it's real? Is it real? Because, you know, it's still money. Like, these guys are not... They didn't roll up in their Lamborghini and are like, I don't care about money. What are items? Like, they need money. Winning here's good. This could be a great payday. We've seen people get thousands of dollars. We started the day with someone making over $1,000. Like, that's good money, guys. He did it in less than an hour or whatever it was. So they're not above that, but they're also playing for a GSL finals, which is like something you'll tell your great grandchildren about someday, if you ever win one of those or take second 7 times in a row or whatever.
It's got to weigh heavy on the mind for both of these guys, actually. The number of second places. Let's do a little rundown. We're just waiting on Stats to be fully prepared. He's going to be ready in just a couple of moments, which will give us the opportunity to run down the history of both of these guys when it comes to second places. Sue, of course, one of the most legendary, suffering what's called the Kong Curse. Here are the major tournaments that he's placed in second in. 2013 WCS Korea, Season 3. 2014 GSL Season 1. 2014 GSL Season 2. 2014 DreamHack Open Stockholm. 2014 GSL Season 3. Yes, indeed. 3 seasons of GSL back-to-back in the same year. Second place. Second place IEM Season 10 Gamescom versus Innovation in 2015. And of course, since then, Sue has not really placed in Premier tournaments. So, suffering the Kong curse, perhaps more so than any other player, maybe surpassing the Great Marine King. And when it comes to stats, well, stats Kong curse has been more obvious recently. He has problems with IEM. Second place, IEM Season 11 Gyeonggi, and quite recently, coming in second place in an incredibly close series to TY at the World Championships in Katowice.
That's what I'm saying. It's story-wise, the GSL Finals has quite the incredible final. Like, again, in this era where a lot of people are complaining about Terran, except, well, actually in Korea as well, there is no Terran. It's a PvZ Finals, and it's two guys that want it really, really bad. Like, the only other person I think that wants it more but has actually won a ton is like ByuN, just seeing his emotional response to losing in the various tournaments. That's a guy that you can tell bleeds his work ethic in game.
No doubt.
Okay, yeah, here you go, TotalBiscuit. Go ahead and announce them, because that's about as much words as you're gonna get in.
It's gonna get silly. And I don't.
It got silly.
It already did. To the southeast position, ladies and gentlemen, in the blue trunks playing...
What the
Protoss. Oh my god. It's Stats versus his GSL Finals opponent, the northwest position. This may not take long. In the red trunks playing Zerg, it is Sue.
He built 2 drones and canceled them.
Yeah.
Alright, listen, hipster super smart team liquid poster. Rationalize that. Tell me something old Grandpa iNcontroL doesn't know. Because I don't know. I mean, that's just a mistake. It has to be.
Well, you'd think so. There's no logical reason for that, surely.
Look at him selling this. Oh my god, I'm sending a second drone. I really want that hatchery.
What a mind game. Both of these guys obviously have the biggest event of their lives coming up. A huge amount of money on the line, the chance to be a big winner, and they have a best of one against each other in an online tournament with a decent amount of money on the line, but not a fraction of what they would earn even in second place, let alone first from the GSL. And the question is, well, I expect you to not show your real build. Well, I expect you not to show your real build, but what if, by my expectation, you know that I know that you know that you're not going to show your real build, so I'm actually going to show my real build. And then, of course, in the GSL, you'll never expect that I use my ShoutCraft Kings build, because why would I do that? What a mind game.
It's so funny, too, to see Sue do what he's doing, because this has happened before. We've seen people who have a big final coming up hit each other in a tournament before that. And I'll tell you what, if someone wants to make a really obscure and weird article, do one on the amount of times Zergs have fast pooled in that situation, all the way back to Brood War. Because I would tell you, it's a lot. A lot of times, when Zergs try to, and there's going to be a lot of people that don't like me saying this, but it's true, guys. I'm sorry. Zergs are not the thinkers of StarCraft. When they're like, whenever a Zerg tries to be clever, they all do the same fucking thing. They all do the same fast Zergling one-base play or whatever, or something off of that. But it's been a rule that's been in place since 1998, so it's just kind of, it's weird to see them all conform that way.
What can I say? I'm just looking at the map at the moment. We saw the early pull, the Lings got nothing done, stats walled off nice and clearly, Twilight Council on the way up. After that very weird start, and obviously a just thoroughly bizarre, what we have to assume is a mistake from Sue with the cancelled drones, well, things are starting to normalize a little bit. Twilight Council robo facility on the way, so, I mean, you know,
the second you said normalized, layer.
Yeah. Lair at 3 minutes. Okay, maybe not. Protoss may be going down a reasonably sensible, sane kind of route. We've got the resonating glaives on the way up here.
No, you
but
don't.
no, oh, he cancelled it. Right, never mind. Okay, so can I just, you know, I feel like I need a little bit of a break. So why don't you just cast the rest of this game, and I'll go down for a spot of tea, if you don't mind. A little bite to eat wouldn't be too bad right now. What is going on?
He started it. You pointed out. He cancels it. You start backtracking, he starts it back up again.
Mind games.
It's just so that you're wrong. That's all.
Obviously. And see, now Stu scouted it. As soon as that gets killed, he's just gonna cancel. He's gonna cancel it again, right? As soon as the Overlord dies. No, maybe not, but it wouldn't surprise me at all.
Well, that would actually be like clever and smart.
Yeah.
But because you just said that, it's now not going to happen.
I'm going to assume that's an insult, but you know what? It's justifiable.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you, man. Everything I'm saying is wrong too. So
these guys are doing some very odd things. Let's just put it that way. I think we're throwing them both for a loop, really. They both seem very excited in the lobby chat, incidentally. They were not upset or anything. Like, oh my god, it's going to be GSL Finals. Hype, hype, hype. And of course, now things are going a little bit nuts. I'm glad the game didn't end in 3 minutes. You know, that would have been predictable. I wouldn't have even blamed them for that, honestly. I didn't think that was actually entirely justifiable, but no, they're actually going to play a real game. And we're going to see how that goes.
Kind of.
Yeah.
It's like Immortals. I don't know. I feel like Stats is doing the better job of at least showing us what could be a real build. So it's more believable that way.
Resonating Glaive drop and doing significant economic damage with that. And I mean, there's no reason why you couldn't get out of there with every single adept. Good God, that's 12 drones for no loss. Sue just took I mean, that was monstrously good control, wasn't it? Like, barely taking any hits. Gets right out of there. Such an elegant little move to kill 12 drones for so little.
He's individually microing each adept. He's not shooting 4 adepts at a single drone each time.
No
when
overkill.
He was doing that while taking hits from roaches, because again, those adepts left to their own devices would naturally actually shoot at the roaches, but they never did. He never skipped a beat. That's how 12 drones die right there.
Full focus fire. 11 more just died. That's actually put Sue in a really awkward position where Sue's thinking about attacking, but Sue doesn't have anything to attack with, really.
He's lost 25 drones in a single Warp Prism attack of 4 adepts.
You know,
That's amazing.
I'm almost feeling a little guilty. I certainly hope this doesn't affect Sue's mindset going to the GSL Finals. Of course, he's a pro. It shouldn't, but that's... I mean, showing that Stats with his control can do so much with so little, that's got to intimidate anybody, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And here comes the 2-base timing attack. It is going to be I mean, if you kill 25 drones, that really empowers your attack. Look at Sue's army. We haven't seen an army this bad since Snoot played against whoever that was. And it's going to be as one-sided as that.
You'd think so. I mean...
Oh, yeah.
The supply count maybe doesn't tell that story, but the unit composition does. Immortals, Sentries, Resonating Glaive, Adepts, oh my. Everything you could possibly need. Yeah, that would, but I don't see how that's ever going to happen, really, unless we get some really, really good Ravager shots. And to be fair, he's hit a couple, but as it stands, the force fields are blocking out Sue's attack. No concave for you. Stats, after another round of warpins, Stats should be able to overwhelm the Zerg defenses at this point. There's more Roaches and Ravagers being added in here, but the third just fell. Another great Ravager shot, though. You got to give Sue credit for that. He's holding on with what he's got, but there's that follow-up warpin, and Sue's Roaches are starting to bleed badly.
He's done a decent job kiting back and forth. He's trying to land the shots, and like you said, he's landed some, but to be honest, I'm more impressed with Stats' ability to dodge here. He's done such a good job of pulling back. It looks like he might be in danger of losing this army, actually, though. As we say, the Immortal's starting to die, the real teeth of his force. But it's just too much. He kills the third, and now it's Adepts against low-count Zerg, which means they're not really snowballing against it. Like, a few Roaches will actually fall to Adepts if there's enough Adepts.
Yeah, I'm actually really impressed with Sue's aiming. He hit so many shots there. He should have been overwhelmed, but because of the Ravager shots, that worked out very well. And those Adepts are going to get chewed up at this point. So I'm not really sure.
What if he force fields the ramp a bunch?
That, well, I mean, with Ravagers, that won't make any difference, right? Should be able to break that very easily.
Well, yeah, he can knock him down. He'd just have to do it. He'd have to space him out, but it's neither here nor there.
More shots landing. I mean, he just hit a ton of Ravager shots, but it may very well just be too little too late at this point. It is finally starting to fall in favor. Great focus fire from Sue, but I just don't think there's quite enough here. With another warp-in coming in, a valiant defense, but Stats overwhelmed Sue for the most part as a result of critical economic damage done with those adept drops.
Oh, yeah. I mean, imagine. Like, a really good drop, by the way, kills, like, 10 drones. That's really good. the single drop killed 25 through 2 attacks. You give Sue 15 more drones there after, and again, that's after a really good drop. And I don't know. I don't know that he goes on to lose that game. He was doing a great job juggling and fighting over at this third, but with his economy essentially down 33%, he just wasn't able to just produce non-stop the way he maybe wanted to. But I don't know. I'm looking at the overlay here. He actually has money the whole time, so maybe that wasn't the determining factor. I don't know, but the drop was really good.
It was, and I think it was probably a key component in that Immortal push actually working, because if that damage had not been done, considering how well Sue did at a disadvantage, I think Sue would have held that pretty easily. And
that's what you'd think, yeah.
And even losing the third obviously stings, but you hold that, you crush those big, important, expensive units, and you reestablish, and then the Protoss is in a little bit of trouble, I think. But stats control with the Adepts and the Warp Prism drop cannot be understated. That was exceptional, and, well, there's your little GSL Finals preview. If that ends up happening in the Finals, that is going to be pretty one-sided, but I have a feeling we're going to be seeing an awful lot more out of both of those guys in the most important tournament of their lives. That was fun to watch, though. That was an enjoyable thing to be able to do.
That was cool.
Yeah. Another enjoyable thing to do, if you wish to call in, you can answer our question today. There was a Zergling in your living room somehow. How do you get rid of it? Call the Ting line, 1-8886-CHEESE. That's 1-8886-CHEESE. Give us your best answer, leave your email address and your name. The top 5 answers today will win a copy of my voice pack, so you can hear my dulcet tones as you get beaten on ladder by Void Ray all-ins over and over and over again.
I have a few, if you'd like.
No doubt. Go check out iNcontroL's stream. He is a master of such things.
Oh, I meant the messages, but yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. I mean, I'm fairly sure you've got the occasional Void Ray all in your pocket, right?
That's actually, like, basically all I do.
There you go. A master of his craft. What can we say? We're getting invited to the lobby, and, you know, I've been on a little bit of a power trip today, considering the kind of players that we have available, and I'd like to do that again, if you don't mind.
I don't mind.
Yeah, we just got a GSL final preview. So, what better way to follow that up than a GSL final rematch? Stats currently sits on top of the hill, but let's just say he has some fresh wounds from this man. Coming off one of the best TVP of the year in the GSL just a few hours ago, it's RagnaroK.
And like you were saying, a really, really good series. This is one, by the way, so Stats is playing a PVZ in the finals. Expect to see nothing but the best from him, and then even maybe a little bit of a chip on the shoulder of RagnaroK, who is, you know, was stopped short of it is a fantastic run that he had, but
it was a hell of a comeback.
In his eyes, though, what he wanted was to win the GSL, right? So
of
this
course,
is the guy he holds to blame, and he can go after him.
That he can. Give him a little bit of chance of vengeance, something of a consolation prize. Of course, RagnaroK having reached the round of 4 of the GSL 3 times, but this was his first time in 3 years having done that. So RagnaroK actually probably in the best shape of his career, put on a hell of a performance. People had written him off in that series, and he went down 3 games, and then the comeback, it was something of epic proportions. It is well worth a look. It was a hell of a series. Very enjoyable to match, regardless of whether or not you know the results. But now, of course, RagnaroK gets a bit of a chance of vengeance. He gets to spoil Stats' little run here. And honestly, Stats has got to be very focused on his upcoming GSL finals. So, as RagnaroK does not really have too much to focus on right now, RagnaroK may very well have the edge.
Well said. That is actually a very real thing. Koreans in particular, when they have a big match, they're not, I mean, it's not like he hasn't played a single PBT in a while, because again, he just had an important match that was a PBT, but he is playing exclusively PVZ, I guarantee it. This is something that every time I've worked alongside Koreans, they believe very strongly, and that a lot of their formats are built that way too, like the GSL, where each week you have a prepared match, as opposed to, you know, like a bracket style tournament like we have at IEMs or MLGs of days past, where you play any number of races, well, 3, but over the course of a single day or 2, you know? So He'll be a little bit out of practice, for sure.
What's going to be interesting, though, is Stats was actually streaming before this tournament. So he may very well be warmed up. I don't know if RagnaroK, coming off a very big loss, a very close loss, what's going to be a very emotional loss for him. Now, is his heart in it? Has that renewed his fire, or has it snuffed it out? You can never know. Some players bounce back. They use these failures as motivation, and some players, understandably, take a little bit of time off. They maybe just don't feel like playing, but RagnaroK signed up to this event knowing exactly what was going to happen. Let's find out. Which kind of player is he?
Yeah, that is a thing, for sure. I think a lot of people might hear that and not necessarily, like, they're like, oh, come on, they play StarCraft, of course, but these are hugely emotional matches. I think a good example of this, and actually sparked a pretty big discussion about production versus showing those emotions, but ByuN, of course, at this last IEM Katowice, just held his head in his hands and cried it out. And if you don't think that those level of emotions aren't also felt across some of these other players that are out there working as hard as they are, like you said, RagnaroK hadn't been in the top 4 in 3 years. That's a big freaking deal. It's tough. It's a huge emotional wrecking to go through, but one of the best ways to bounce back is in competition, though. Obviously after a normal amount of grieving, but to get back out there, start working on your next match, and try and take out these guys. That's how you get over it.
It really is, and I wonder which kind of match we're going to see here, because that series was a mix. Initially, Stats bopped RagnaroK, and then RagnaroK turned it up to 11, got into gear, and really showed Stats a very difficult series.
I think I hope we're in for a good one.
I hope so.
Stats is, he's vying to be the... GSL is the highest accolade you can do right now. So if you win the GSL, that you are the guy. I think BlizzCon at the end of the year is the one that kind of lasts the longest, but winning a GSL is no small thing, obviously. RagnaroK's going to line up here for that classic Widowmine drop. We've been talking a little bit about this. The Widowmine did experience a nerf, but it's still pretty darn good at being invisible if you don't have detection and killing probes. Just won't kill as many probes as easily, but Stats with the delayed Mothership Core is showing up to have some decent defense here, and a Robotics Bay, actually, so we're going to probably see some Colossus play.
That we are. Colossus coming back in vogue as of late, certainly towards the start of Legacy of the Void, a very unpopular unit. They had taken something of a beating with the Nerf bat, and we didn't see him for months, really.
Yeah. It was needed, to be honest, to get on my soapbox here a little bit, but like the Colossus was the premier unit in 3 matchups. You massed it against Terran, you massed it against Zerg, you massed it against Protoss. That's pretty boring. It's also not a super interesting skilled unit. You just it just has longer range, does a ton of damage, so you just point it at them and click. But now it's in an interesting role where, again, it still is strong, does have that long range, but it's not as strong, so it's a little bit more of a support unit, kind of, in a way, where it complicates your opponent's composition. Like, if a Terran doesn't make any Vikings or doesn't have a decent number of Liberators, then how are you going to deal with those Colossus? And all of a sudden, that becomes a huge question for them.
Indeed, and the Liberator is sort of falling out of popularity at the moment, to some extent. So, I have to wonder, we may very well see it this matchup anyway, or we may see just a return to the classic way of dealing with this, which is, of course, to go Viking, to deal with it that way. Not necessarily a bad idea with the tendency of Protoss, in fact, the necessity, really, these days, to at least have a Warp Prism. Having a large number of Vikings is always good in that situation. You can pick the Warp Prisms off, you can intercept them if there's any harassment going on, so it's a useful tool in the toolbox. At the moment, it's just Medivacs. So far, so pretty standard from both players here. The Observer in great position is going to see this. Oh, it just saw the edge of it. I think he moved away on purpose, knowing that RagnaroK has an uncanny knack for spotting those things.
Yeah. One thing to kind of take note, because a big kind of determining thing on this map, you were talking about it in previous matches, how it gets split up often. That's true.
Indeed, yeah.
But look at this, the double Medivacs. Now, look at the lower left-hand side of Stats base. There's 5 pylons over there. That's not a mistake.
Nope.
That is essentially the helipad, if you will, of where Terrans will drop forever. But if there's 5 pylons there and a Mothership Core floating around, as you see, it makes for a bad landing spot. That's very much so something that Stats is leveraging. So expect kind of a defensive 3-base play, looking to defend, deflect a few drops, and then eventually mass up and go for the kill.
ByuN currently posturing, but note that it is with an empty medevac. This is something of a fake out here. Stats saw that medevac. ByuN knew that it was spotted. The follow-up actually is full medevacs. Almost think, I mean, ByuN doesn't know about that pylon network, so it's kind of a little bit of an odd follow-up. There's the pickup. This is going to be a two-pronged drop offensive. The drops at the top were not seen. These drops were. So I imagine ByuN, of course, trying to draw Stats back, but with so many pylons, Stats doesn't need to pull back, really, does he? But I don't know. That's 3 medevacs, 2 of which are full. He
thought about it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't want to fly into that either. That's flying into Hell's Heart. It's super dangerous. Maybe not worth the risk.
Fire, if they shoot the medevacs, like, obviously the medevacs will land. They will offload most of their stuff. But it's a one-way trip. All the medevacs will end up dying. ByuN sees greater value in holding that above the head of Stats. Like, as the game goes, do you have Phoenix? No. Do you have Templar? Not yet. So you can't really move out. So ByuN knows he can take a third. He can start getting the double engineering bay upgrades, that kind of stuff. Obviously, this, again, is a good situation for the Protoss. I'm not trying to say otherwise, but losing those medevacs would have been, like, close to game-ending situation for ByuN.
Yeah, I think you're probably very right there, considering how equal this game has been up to this point. Last thing you want is to lose that mobility, lose that healing. So very crucial with the amount of splash that you get here, but we see some aggression from the Terran player. There's not quite enough force fields, but with that warp in, ByuN being a little bit cagey, just backing off, doing a little bit of damage, not really able to handle the Colossi. Doesn't have anything really to deal with them right now.
Interesting. He unfortunately loses the Vikings. I thought it was an overly ambitious fight, to be sure. Actually, never mind. As I say that, one of the Vikings does pull back. I don't know that Stats... Well, actually, Stats has 4 Colossus. I was going to say I'm not sure that he could attack here, but...
There's more Vikings on the way, but yeah, I mean, there are a lot. I'm just worried about the meat. There's not a lot of meat in this army.
Right.
Like, if those Marauders broke through the front line, and there are 13 of them, bear that in mind, then those Colossi are going to be fresh meat. And I think Stats knows this, and ByuN banking on perhaps Stats overcommitting and then springing those extra Vikings on him, but both of these guys, after last night, they respect each other way too much for that.
You might be right. Now there is that Warp Prism. Look, Glaive's about to finish. Adepts are pretty damn bad before that upgrade.
Yeah.
After that upgrade, they're pretty fantastic. I really like this counterattack from ByuN. This is that classic situation where if you can get enough Vikings out and take out the teeth of this army, the rest is not as big of a deal. But this drop, well, not even a drop, this just run by, is going to absolutely kill that base. There's
It
no
will.
question about it.
The problem I've got is I don't know if ByuN even survives this attack. There's a big Protoss army. He's had to split his army in 2, bearing in mind a very equal game up to this point. Damage is going to be done, but if there's game-ending damage from the Protoss, what does that even matter? The SCVs make their way in and get absolutely slaughtered. There are enough Vikings to kill the Colossi, but there's still too much on the ground here, and this commitment by ByuN may very well have lost him the game. The Terran economy's gone.
Yeah, the economy's gone. Now with the ability to warp in Adepts and Stats just kind of seeing that the game's on the line, he's even making a Disruptor out of that Robo. He just knows, like, his army over here outside of ByuN's base is not impressive, but it's more than impressive enough to deal with whatever's coming off those barracks. And he sees that the natural and third are shut down. So this game's been simplified. ByuN's got a sizable force of the natural, and that's annoying, but even that is not scary enough that he knows that he'll just buy enough time to eventually kill it, basically.
Yeah, production is pretty much now camped. ByuN is trying a base trade, but of course army supply tells a pretty grim story with 29 adepts on the field. That's kind of enough to kill the whole Terran army anyway. And really, if ByuN actually had his entire army in that defense, he would have won that fight, I think, pretty convincingly. At this point, though, I don't see a way out of it.
If the counterattack flanks on the Colossus, maybe?
Yeah, I even thought he was setting that up, actually. I thought he was aware of the position of Stats' army, but maybe I was mistaken.
Would have been interesting. Well, the army gets found over here, and it's just not very big again.
No.
Whoa, I didn't see that right side, actually.
Tries to flank around. I think there might just be too much adept there, really. And it looks like there is. And that is going to be another win for Stats, who sort of puts the exclamation mark on his victory over ryong last night.
Yeah. A convincing win. Very smart play. It's very Stats-esque, I feel. You know, he didn't take any super big risks. He deflected a strangely overly aggressive attack from ryong. I don't know. I can't remember if he scanned or not, or if there's just more there than he thought. But it was just a severe miscalculation. He didn't even like lose that many units, but what he did do is he tipped off that was his army.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, Stats is like, wait, you only have like 2 Vikings? Well, then I can absolutely push at the very least. And ryong just kept kind of showing, yeah, it's not only that you can push, it's that you can probably just win with this army, and that's what happened.
Yeah, it was a good idea in theory, but the reality of it was that with such an even game, splitting your army was pretty much signing its death warrant. I do genuinely believe that with the whole army, we would have seen ryong putting out a solid defense and probably winning that fight pretty handily, but it didn't happen. Bit of a mistake there from ryong, unfortunately, and Stats takes another win, starts to put one on the board. We could very well see the start of another streak. I mean, we are playing with the guy who is widely regarded as the best Protoss in the world at the moment, so I can't say I'm hugely surprised. And interestingly enough, look at the amount of Protoss success we've had today.
Yeah. I mean, look at the Protoss that we've had success with. Showtime, the best.
Some of the best.
Protoss.
Yeah.
Zest, one of the best of all time. Stats, the current best. So not super surprising, but yeah.
The majority of the wins today have been Protoss, indeed. I wonder if there is a player that can spoil that particular party. I'm sure they can, but you're going up against the best in the world here. It doesn't matter who you pick. The current king is going to have a very, very good chance indeed of dealing with whoever is sent his way. Now, while we wait for the setup, I'd like to remind you, of course, of our little contest. Call into the Ting line, our sponsor, shoutcraft.ting.com. Get $25 off your purchase and your brand new cell phone contract. Call the Ting line at 1-888-6-CHEESE. That's 1-888-6-CHEESE. And our question today is quite simple. There's a Zergling in your living room. How do you get rid of it? The best 5 answers will be in the running for a TotalBiscuit announcer pack for StarCraft 2. The best prize in the universe, let's be honest. Nothing of more value could possibly exist.
Think of just the value it gives at such a low cost of free, or if you pay for it on, Battle.net, and just the hours, the years, really, of joy that it can bring you. It's insane. Huge value.
The level of your play will be significantly raised by its use. That I can guarantee.
Oh, that's been proven.
Indeed, without a doubt.
Stats uses it, so,
You'd be surprised how many Korean copies were sold of that.
Really?
Yeah. I think it's probably because the Koreans don't understand my bullshit, so they just like the sound of my voice. They don't know that I actually don't know anything about the game. They just like how I sound.
Oh, hey. That's good.
Oh.
Good to be liked.
SC2HL, I believe that's StarCraft 2 Highlights, just subscribed. Well, I guess I know what he's subscribing for VODs for. We're running off with all my games. Messages? Well, we actually do have the game set up now, so we're just sort of buying time. I believe... There you go, you're in the lobby. Lovely. Just wanted to make sure there weren't any issues there. Well, this is going to be a fun matchup. I have no doubt about that. I love it whenever we see this guy play. He's, of course, a regular competitor in ShoutCraft Kings, and one of the best, no doubt. One of the most winningest. I don't really like that word. In fact, I actually despise that word. Let's never use it again.
Assist.
It's terrible. But this guy isn't. He's incredible. He's the one and only Nurchio.